Mark Levin here. The post-election economy could be a minefield of inflation, massive debt, and currency instability. That's why I count on gold for my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and that's who I turn to for my own investments. Call them now, 800-900-8000, for a free gold investment kit, and see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Don't wait and see if post-election chaos destroys your savings. Act preemptively. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, I have to do this PT, and we now do it, it's not in-house. We go to a location. We've got this fabulous guy. His name is Larry. And as we're driving back from it today, my wife says, what is this story about Donald Trump saying that Liz Cheney should face a firing squad? She said, that's ridiculous. I'm sure he never said that. I said, there's no way. And of course, he never said that. And you know, Kamala Harris runs to the microphone when she wants to tell a big, fat, slobbering lie, and she does it constantly. She's a drama queen. Liz Cheney's a drama queen. Nobody suggested at all, in plain English, that she should be shot. And so the White House is in on it. Obviously, Kamala Harris is in on it. Liz Cheney's in on it. The media's in on it. They're all friggin' liars. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But this is the last Friday before the Tuesday election, the biggest election of all of our lifetimes, the biggest election since the Civil War, quite frankly. And I mean that with all my heart and soul as somebody who's a student of history. This is the weekend where all the activists are out there. This is the weekend where you, the Paul Reveres and the Thomas Paines, if you haven't voted and there's early voting, you need to vote. If early voting is over, you need to prepare for Tuesday. But whatever you do, you need to get other people to vote. Just don't be bashful about it. These people on the left, they're not bashful about anything. But before we do that, I thought, from an inspirational point of view, January 20, 1981, at his inaugural speech, I want you to listen to something that Reagan said. This is only 3.5 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole speech, obviously. But it has a direct, maybe more indirect impact on the way I want you to think about this election. This election is about patriotism versus those who want the fundamental transformation of America. That's what it is. It's about the ruling class, which is destroying our country. The ruling class, which is led by the likes of Kamala Harris, which promotes individuals who are incompetent, have their jobs not because of merit, just because, but they're part of the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump talks about the enemy within, and the enemy within gets very angry. We've talked about this before on this program. The enemy within, well, that was basically Abraham Lincoln in 1838, the Young Lyceum speech. He's talking about the enemy within our country, those who are promoting slavery and division in the nation. We do have an enemy within. It's historically correct when Donald Trump uses it, and it's present day correct in his use. Kamala Harris is leading a Democrat Party that wants to fundamentally transform America. The American Revolution wasn't fought to fundamentally transform America. The American Revolution was fought for representative government, not to destroy our society. The French Revolution was fought to fundamentally transform their society, and it led to 10 years of terrorism and mock trials where so many people lost their lives. We're not interested in fundamentally transforming America. We're interested in taking our government back. The Democrats are interested in fundamentally transforming America, our economic system, our legal system, our constitutional system, our borders, the citizenry. Their war, their revolution is aimed at the civil society and to destroy it. We seek to protect it and defend it. Kamala Harris is a pathological liar. She runs to the microphone to lie about Donald Trump. He's unhinged. New word that she's learned. She can't stop repeating it. He's dangerous. That's what their polling tells them, to get out their base. Now, she's dangerous. Look what she's done to the people on the border. Look what she's done to these women who are sold into sex slavery. Look, where are the 325,000 children? Nowhere to be found. Some hellhole, someplace in this country, the most unimaginable conditions. She never even talks about them. She supported Black Lives Matter, just like LeBron James, the biggest ripoff ever, particularly of black people. They've never apologized. No wonder LeBron James just endorsed her. All the billionaires are endorsing her. All the entertainers are endorsing her, bar some who have the guts to stand up to it. Pretty grotesque. And so they have to put words in Donald Trump's mouth. And they're doing this all over the country in Senate race after Senate race, House race after House race. You see, the Republicans who fought to preserve this society, to preserve the Union, and the Democrats who sought to destroy the Union and promote slavery. Today, it's the Democrats who apparently have the billionaires on their side, certainly most of them, with their oligarchs, spending a fortune, $1.2 billion to elect somebody, Kamala Harris, who will destroy our economy, who will destroy your way of life, who will drive up the cost of food even more, drive up the cost of clothing and energy, and she'll blame it on somebody else. She's the threat to democracy, more accurately, to our republic. She is a dangerous individual. They have shown that they will use federal law enforcement to lock up their political enemies. They will use federal law enforcement to lock up individuals who exercise their free speech rights and freedom of association rights if they dare to stand outside an abortion clinic or voice opinions they disagree with. They will not bend a finger to stop anti-Semitism in this country, not a finger. They will not bend a finger to go after the criminals in this country who are attacking our families, particularly in the inner cities. They made it abundantly clear they will side with the terrorists in the Middle East and Iran in the Middle East against the Jewish state that seeks to protect the Holy Land, the birthplace of Judaism and Christianity. They've made it abundantly clear. Kamala Harris and the current regime is the most anti-Semitic, anti-American regime this nation has ever seen. And she wants you to believe that she will unite the nation. She calls you neo-Nazis. She calls you fascists. She and they call you Hitler. But they're going to unite the nation. No, they're not. They're going to pull every tyrannical trick to seize permanent power, eliminate the Electoral College, make sure that illegal aliens get amnesty so they can vote for Democrats, and then have chain migration so the country can never survive this. We don't even have assimilation anymore. They want to keep people dumb in their dumb schools, their indoctrination camps, which we call our public schools. They reject school choice, particularly for minority kids. LeBron James doesn't give a damn about them. LeBron James defends Democrat after Democrat, endorses them, despite the fact that little black kids in dangerous neighborhoods are facing criminality, gangs, and can't go to quality schools because he opposes school choice. He's done not a damn thing for the inner city communities. Kamala Harris hasn't done a damn thing for inner city communities. Nothing. Zero. I want you to hear what Donald Trump said when we come back in Glendale, Arizona. So Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney, two drama queens, can pretend that he said something so horrific, and they're so offended, where they try to control the news cycle for the next 48 to 72 hours. And I'm here to tell you, turn the news off. Turn it off. Turn the news off, TV and radio. Do the right thing by your country. Do the right thing by your children and grandchildren. Do the right thing by yourselves. Unless you want to see the basics for survivability, further destroyed in front of your eyes. They keep praising the economy. The economy went south again. The last of the unemployment numbers are a disaster. The private sector shrank by 28,000 jobs since 2020. They created 12,000 jobs this last month. 12,000 jobs. That's not even 1,000 jobs a state. That's not even 500 jobs a state. It's a couple hundred jobs every state. But don't worry. The government since 2020 has grown by 40,000 jobs. Oh, yeah. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The upcoming election isn't just about choosing leaders. It's about bracing for the economic fallout that could follow. You know, history shows that post-election periods can bring economic turmoil. But this time, with our national debt skyrocketing and global tensions rising, we could be facing unprecedented risks. We could see runaway inflation or even a currency crisis. That's why I encourage people to diversify and look at gold as a financial safety net. Gold has been said to be a reliable wealth shield for thousands of years through some of the worst economic storms. And for my gold investments, I trust Advantage Gold. They're who I buy from exclusively, and I recommend them to anyone serious about helping to protect their wealth. You can call them right now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. You can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be happy you did. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. All right, here is the clip that they are bastardizing, trying to create an issue right into the election. They actually want people to think that Donald Trump wants to execute Liz Cheney. It's so sophomoric, and yet this is the nature of Kamala Harris. When she has nothing to say, this is what they say. Cut 4, go.
I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter's a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it.
So what he's talking about... Okay, Christian. What he's talking about there, of course, is in a military situation. That's what he's talking about. Not lining her up and shooting her. Go ahead.
On her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
And she is. And he's right. The real reason she hates Donald Trump is because Donald Trump is not an interventionist. You can criticize him all you want, but he's not an interventionist. Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney absolutely are interventionists. And it is constant. She's way out of the mainstream, even of conservatives. Even out of hawks. I'm a hawk, you might say. But again, Mr. Producer, I want to re-cue number 4. I want you to listen carefully. I'm only going to do it once more because it's really not worth it. When we come back, we're going to play it again, cut 4, just so you understand what Trump said and how the media and the Democrats are trying to change it. We'll be right back. Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. We want to welcome WNTP in Philadelphia, AM 990, The Answer. Yes, that's our new station in Philadelphia. We're so proud to be there. WNTP, AM 990, The Answer in Philadelphia. We salute you. We thank you. It's wonderful to be part of your team. God bless each and every one of you. A couple days ago, Donald Trump called in. He wanted to talk about Tuesday, among other things. And so he asked that we play it now, and here we go. First of all, Mr. President, I want to thank you for everything you're doing, what you're putting up with. You know, as a Jew, these attacks, Hitler and all the rest, it is really disgusting. But let me ask you this. Why is Kamala angry, so unhinged? Why is she so angry, lashing out, smearing tens of millions of patriotic Americans? Biden calling them garbage. She's calling them neo-Nazis. Do they really expect to attract voters when they treat the American people this way?
Well, she treated her staff that way, and her staff was, 95% of her staff left her. And as VP, it was a horror show. And when she was Attorney General, same thing. She made people stand at attention when she walked into the room. And look, she's a horrible person, okay? She's a horrible person. And, the fact that she's getting away with this whole thing is amazing. And the fact that it's even close. I mean, you listen to her policies, this country would be finished. If she gets in, the country is finished. And you know what else is finished? Israel's finished, okay? Mm-hmm. It's finished. It's incredible when you watch what's happening. And you're right. I watched her speech last night. She goes, they want to arrest us. They want to come in. He wants to come in and arrest us. He's going to go after this or that. I said, that's what they're doing to me.
Exactly.
For 3 years, that's what they've been doing to me. And it's like incredible. It's almost like, what is she saying? So she's screaming last night about being arrested. And that's not me. That's what they're doing to me. They always do the opposite. It's like amazing. Then they do ads talking about the exact opposite that I want. In other words, like fertilization, IVF. She says he won't allow IVF. And I'm the one that did allow it, 100%. He will destroy Social Security. He wants to close Social Security down. He wants to close let's say Obamacare. He wants to close it down. He's told everybody he wants to close it down. Then he goes to Project 2025, right, which is done by people I have no idea who they are, other than some did work for me, but they should never have done a thing like that. But normally you'd say, no, I have nothing to do with that. That would be the end. They act as though I wrote it. These people are just very, very bad, I think very dangerous people, actually.
Yeah. Running a very hateful campaign, as you've pointed out. The campaign, $1.2 billion in lies to the American people, to women, to minorities, to anybody who will listen. there's a level of desperation that I have never seen in a campaign before. But tell the audience why they ought to vote for you. We want to get them out. We want them to vote. We want them to get their friends and their family out. So there's a massive, overwhelming number of votes for Donald Trump.
Well, it's about two things. It's about the border and the economy. And the border there's nobody like me on the border. That I can tell you. Border Patrol, as you know, gave us the endorsement for about the 10th year in a row. They love Trump, and they get it. And they said she's the worst ever. I mean, they gave this to us last week, and it's not easy for them to say. They say there's never been anybody so bad. Do you know, she was in charge of the border for 4 years. She never once called them. She never once went there. She went to a part of the border that had nothing to do with what we're talking about, with, you know, people coming in that are murderers and drug dealers and out of prisons. The world is dumping their prisons into the U.S., and terrorists are coming in at record numbers. The whole thing is crazy, and it's like an open border policy, and now they're flying them in because they don't want to get caught at the border. You know, they're trying to be a little tougher the last 2 months, right? But they forgot about the planes. You know, the planes took in 500,000 people, and they forgot to tell the pilots, excuse me, don't fly. These are very dishonest people. They're very, very bad people. And the other day, as you know, he called us garbage. He said the Trump people are garbage. All the people,
yeah, right.
This is Biden. You know, now, I guess he gets a pass because he's out of it. He's been out of it for years. He was out of it 30 years ago. You know that, so do I. But it's really terrible. The other thing is the economy and inflation. The economy is terrible, and it's been made terrible by inflation. Inflation has people could get a raise, but they're way behind the eight ball. They're going into their savings. Businesses aren't working. Taxes are too high now. She wants to raise taxes 50-60% on people and get rid of our tax cut. It would be the biggest tax increase ever. But I'm going to bring the companies back through the use of tariffs. And she goes out and says, I want to do a sales tax. A tariff is not a sales tax. A tariff is paid for by the country. It's not paid for by us. And by the way, it's going to ultimately bring down prices, way down. I think it's the most beautiful word in the dictionary, the word tariff. It's going to make this country rich. And by the way, without it, we could never be rich again. We could never, ever be rich again.
You know, Mr. President, the fact is you used tariffs in your first 4 years. You slashed taxes like nobody before. You ran the economy. It was a tremendous economy. Then we have the pandemic. They come in and what do? They spend trillions of dollars beyond the pandemic money, massive debt, massive deficit. Not a single Republican voted for the phony Inflation Act. She was the tie-breaking vote. So how is it possible for the person who burned down the economy to put the fire out? I've never understood this. Isn't this why she talks at marble mouth when she's asked what she's going to do about the economy?
She has no idea about the economy. She was saying she's going to raise prices on corporations, big corporations. Mark, they're going to leave. You know, they leave. They go to other places. They don't care. Half of them they're from other locations, other countries. You know, they're international business people, big people. They run these big companies. A lot of them aren't American. They couldn't care less. They'd rather move. And all she's doing is driving out companies when she did. And there go the jobs. There goes everything. No, it's absolutely, she has no understanding of business and never has had. That's why you ask her a question of business, she starts talking about her front lawn. It's actually amazing. Look, I'm running because I want to make America great again. We did it. We had the greatest economy in history. We had the strongest border in history. We had everything the best, everything. Every income group, every group, men, women, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. I mean, they've done so well. Everybody has done well. But we're really against like this fake group of people. I've never liked, Hillary Clinton was very much a scoundrel. Okay, but she wasn't as bad as these people. These people take ads, and they say exactly the opposite. They said the other day that I will not frack. Okay, fracking. They said he is going to end fracking. My whole life, I love fracking and drilling. My whole life, they said, I have decided I will never frack. I will not frack. they take ads, and you say, "Can I sue?" You go to a lawyer. Can I sue on a campaign ad? It's the most disgusting campaign I've ever seen. And then she gets up last night. She has a fake crowd brought in by buses, just like she had with Beyonce. She said Beyonce's going to sing. I'm no fan of Beyonce, but Beyonce's going to sing. Big deal. And she gets some people to go. And then Beyonce gets up and doesn't sing. She says something for a minute and she leaves. And the crowd boos the hell out of her and leaves, and she's speaking, and everybody's leaving. It's all fake. It's all fake. And get used to it, because if she ever won, I know you well. You're the greatest. If she ever won, I don't think you could handle it. I really don't. I don't think you could handle it.
Well, I think I'd be audited. Talk about going to jail. I mean, look, they're the ones that have already put people in jail. Yeah. Bannon, Navarro, they want to put you in jail. Nobody's threatened with jail on the other side. Let me ask you this.
Isn't it amazing, though, how they talk about that? I want to put people in jail.
Yeah, I know.
I could have put Hillary Clinton in jail. I could have put her in jail. I thought it was terrible. The wife of a president and a secretary of state, you put her in jail. It's really amazing. It's really amazing.
And it is amazing
it's like
because
a whole big con job.
You haven't decided yet, I guess, but you've talked about possibly you'd look at pardoning Hunter Biden. See, I know you. I know you really don't want to get into these fights. You really don't. You want to do stuff. You want to get stuff done. You're a developer. You built the skyline in New York. That's the way you are. Let's go forward. You wake up every morning. Let's go forward. Let's do. It's not all this negativity, and they drag the whole country into their whole mindset, into their whole kind of sick psychology. Let me ask you this. She talks about the border. She lost 325,000 kids. How many tens of thousands of women have been sold into sex slavery? She doesn't say a thing about them. You've had these poor parents who've lost these kids under the most horrific circumstances. She doesn't pick up the phone and call them. I think she has ice water for blood in her veins. She talks about the middle class and all that. Well, what does she do? What does she say?
She talks about things, and sometimes she doesn't know what she's talking about. She goes, look, when I saw what 60 Minutes did with that question, they asked her a question, and she gave a horrible answer. Really, it would show she's a dumb person, very dumb. And they took that answer out, and they replaced it with another answer that was much better. Now, think of that. That's not editing. They tried to say, this was a minor edit. No, they asked her a main question, and she gave a terrible, ridiculous, rambling, horrible answer, and they took it out, and they replaced it with a different answer, totally different. That is the worst thing I've ever seen in broadcasting. It's, this, and we're talking about 2 weeks at that time before the election, and everybody's listening, everybody's watching, and they were watching a different program. Nobody's ever done that. I think it's the biggest scandal in broadcast history, and yet the fake news doesn't want to even talk about it. They don't want to. Could you imagine if they did that for me and they got caught? First of all, they wouldn't do it for me. They wouldn't do it. We don't have to worry about it. They wouldn't do it. They do the opposite. They take my answer and they make it smaller. They want to make it look a little bit more disjointed, whatever they can do to do it. But the whole thing, and the press is a part of it, Mark, because look, the press knows what's going on. The only thing I don't understand is why would the press want to have open borders, men playing in women's sports, everybody become transgender, let the world become transgender?
Because they're left-wing Democrats.
Why would they want that? Yeah, well, someday you're going to have to explain that.
They're party
business,
people.
I can always figure out my opponent. Why does he want something, or why does he or she want something? You can sort of figure it out, but you say, why do they want to have open borders? Why do they want to destroy the country? Why do they want to do all these things that are so destructive? Mm-hmm. Make a woke military. And they would like to do that, by the way.
Well, herein is the big difference between you and them. You love the country, and they obviously don't. They love the country. They wouldn't conduct themselves this way. And isn't that reason you want the people to vote now? Everybody who loves the country, we don't always have to agree. But you love the country. You want the country to exist, secure the borders, a thriving economy, a strong military. That's what you stand for. So in your closing comment here, Mr. President, what is it that you want the people to do over the course of the next 4 days, and certainly on Election Day? You want them to vote. And what do we need to say beyond?
I want them to go out and vote. Yeah, I want them to go out and vote like they've never voted before. We have to beat this horrible spell that we're in with these people. We went through 4 years of an incompetent president, a dumb man, a very dumb man, a man that should have not let Ukraine happen, not let Israel October 7th happen, a man that shouldn't have had inflation. He caused inflation with his energy situation. We would have never had inflation. I had no inflation. I had the best economy in the history of our country with no inflation. Think of that. And what they did is they screwed up the energy policy, which was hard to do. We had it so perfect. We got Anwar in Alaska, as big as Saudi Arabia, they say, and he closed it. Every president since Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan in particular, wanted to get it. Nobody got it. I got it. We could have paid off national debt. We could have done things that you wouldn't believe. Look, they're really a very, very bad group of people. I really believe it. They're a bad group of people. We got to get them out of office. They're sick. They're going to kill our country. We can't go through another 4 years. We can't go through another year like this, Mark. So I say go out and vote and be proud, and we will turn this country around so fast. We're going to lower your energy prices. We're going to cut them in half. That's going to bring everything else down, because don't forget, they had inflation, but, I had no inflation. I had really the right number is less than 1%. They had they had the biggest inflation in the history of our country. And no matter how well you did, the inflation ate you alive. Inflation is a country buster. It was for Germany years ago. Any country that suffers great inflation is busted. And we've gone through it, and it hasn't stopped. By the way, it has not stopped. But they also haven't done anything about the cost of groceries. Everything has cost too much. We're going to get interest rates down, and we are going to bring numbers down because of energy. We have more energy than any other country, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia, more than anybody. I call it liquid gold. We're going to bring your energy prices down within less than a year from the time I take office. And when that happens, everything else is going to come down. And we're going to get back to business. The other thing, we have to stop murderers, criminals, terrorists, every name the crime, we got them, and they're all being poured into our country. Prisons from all over the world are being emptied out. Think of this. The prisons from all over the world being emptied out and deposited in our country. They're sending their prisoners from all over the world. The Congo, I don't know what's going on with the Congo, but a lot of people are coming in from
Civil
Africa,
War.
and they're pouring into our country like water. It's unbelievable, and it's going to be really bad, and we have to get them out, Mark. We're going to take them out. We have no choice. I don't want to do it. We've got to get them out.
Amen. And let me just close with this. You respect all the American people. You haven't called their supporters Hitler and garbage. In fact, you're trying to win their supporters over. You go into communities that never vote Republican, and you've been doing this for the whole campaign. You don't call them names and so forth like she does. And so it's very, very important in America that we vote and we elect this man in the Senate and the House so we can save our country, our lifestyle, and our freedom. President Trump, I want to thank you for everything. And please, God, stay safe out there as best as you can.
I will. Thank you very much, Mark. And you really have a big voice. You have a very, very important voice. And keep it going. Keep it going for a long time.
We will. We're with you. Take care of yourself. All right.
Thank you very much.
I'll be right back. All right, folks, I'm live now. Hard break. More when we return. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The upcoming election isn't just about choosing leaders. It's about bracing for the economic fallout that could follow. History shows that post-election periods can bring economic turmoil. But this time, with our national debt skyrocketing and global tensions rising, we could be facing unprecedented risks. We could see runaway inflation or even a currency crisis. That's why I encourage people to diversify and look at gold as a financial safety net. Gold has been said to be a reliable wealth shield for thousands of years through some of the worst economic storms. And for my gold investments, I trust Advantage Gold. They're who I buy from exclusively, and I recommend them to anyone serious about helping to protect their wealth. You can call them right now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. You can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin Levin sent you. You'll be happy you did. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. The U.S. Supreme Court just ruled now that it will not change the ruling of the state Supreme Court in Pennsylvania, which has 7 elected members, 5 of whom are radical Democrats. That court changed existing state law in Pennsylvania, requiring the counting, that is, the allowing provisional ballots by individuals who didn't fill out their original ballots correctly. So you could literally have a situation where their votes are counted twice. We have a problem. John Roberts, Barrett, and Kavanaugh on that court, because they should have said no. 2 votes, the potential for 2 votes is destructive of the voting system. But they didn't do that. So now that's what's going to happen in Pennsylvania. Folks, it's a busy Friday. Our foot is on the pedal of the gas pedal. Stick with us. More to come. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Notice how little Kamala Harris talks about you and your interests. Trying to get the price of food under control. Trying to get the price of energy under control. Trying to get the price of housing and rent under control. The price of vehicles, the necessities that you need. Notice she never talks about any of this. Notice she never talks about the border. She says she will propose that quote-unquote bipartisan law. She lies about the law. If she gets that law, we will have 2 million illegal aliens every year for the rest of time, and that doesn't even count the gotaways and chain migration. That's her answer. What about all those women sold into sex slavery? It's never crossed her lips. What about 325,000 missing unaccompanied children? It's never crossed her lips. Not once. What is she going to do about crime in the streets? Nothing. Nothing. By the way, this weekend's very, very important. It's the weekend before the election, and I'm treating it as very, very important. Life, Liberty, and Levin on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have my opening statement, which I think you're going to find compelling as hell. We have Governor Ron DeSantis. We have Leo Terrell, who's going to talk about his experiences in California and knowledge about Kamala Harris. We're going to have Michael Whatley. We've never had him on before, the chairman of the RNC. And I'm not going to ask him, hey, how do you think it's going out there? I'm going to ask him some other questions and elicit some interesting information for you. That is a big, big show Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're not sure if you can watch it live, a lot of things going on in your life, like hopefully you're out there helping getting people to vote. Please go ahead and DVR it, or if you have a smart TV, record it in other ways as well. But please keep it recorded if you're not going to watch it live. I really want you to watch this. And on Sunday, I'm going to do something I've done maybe twice in all the years I've been on Fox. No guests, just me talking to you. Sunday, the entire program on this election, on Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I've been working on it for several days already. Sunday, very few hosts can do this. They have writers, they have editors. I have none of this. None of it. So it'll be pure Levin. Sunday. It'll be iconic, I'm sure. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you'll be able to watch it live. If not, again, you might as well just go ahead and record it, just in case. There's no more Major League Baseball. There's some other things, maybe Sunday Night Football and so forth, but this is it. This is the weekend before the big election, the election that's going to make a determination on what kind of country we live in, and we need you to watch these programs and to have as many people as you possibly can. I was asked to participate by Fox on election night coverage on Tuesday. I won't be doing that. Why? Because I can't. for reasons I can't get into. But I'll tell you what I do on election night. I watch what's going on. I don't need to be part of a conga line, and I'm not talking about Fox anywhere, for that matter. And I watch and watch, and I want you to know something. We may not have an answer on election night because Pennsylvania's going to be 4 or 5 days late. They already said Maricopa County, that's Phoenix. They already said they could be a week late. Michigan said you better be patient. We might be late. So unless we win by a massive amount, and this is what I'm hoping, we may not know. We may not know. I want to talk about the economy, something that the Democrats, the media, and Kamala Harris refuse to talk about. She just wants to keep trashing Donald Trump. She's a very nasty person. We know this. The way she treated Kavanaugh, the way she attacked that ICE director and called him a Klansman, she's a very, very nasty and very stupid woman. Private sector shrank, writes Breitbart, by 28,000 jobs, worst since 2020, while government jobs rose by 40,000, and that's what you're going to see. Government gets bigger, more centralized. The police state, its tentacles will go further and further into your lives. John Carney, the disappointing job numbers for October were even worse than they looked. The Department of Labor said today that the U.S. economy added only 12,000 jobs in October, far undershooting expectations for over 100,000 jobs. Do you know Kamala Harris hasn't gotten a single question about this today, Mr. Producer? Not one? Isn't that amazing? But the private sector actually lost 28,000 jobs, and I looked even deeper, America. It actually lost 48,000 manufacturing jobs. So it lost 28,000 jobs overall. But within that number, which means they picked up some somewhere, they lost 48,000 manufacturing jobs. It's incredible. Manufacturing fell. 46,000 jobs. This was the third consecutive monthly decline for manufacturing jobs. Third consecutive monthly decline, and that's big. And you're going to see layoffs in the automobile industry, at least temporary layoffs because of the electric vehicle debacle. And Wendy's is closing 140 stores. This is what I mean. So her answer is, well, I'm going to sick the feds on this, that price gouging. Wendy's is closing 140 stores. 140. Have you ever heard of a fast food franchise closing so many stores? No, this is all new. Denny's is closing a couple of thousand, or was it 1,200? 1,200, I think, of its stores. These are restaurants. They can't afford the food. Retail jobs fell 6,400. Professional and business services declined by 47,000. And leisure and hospitality jobs declined. This is evidence of a very, very sick economy. Very sick. Social assistance and healthcare jobs, often referred to as government-related payrolls, they rose by more than 51,000. You see? You see what's going on here? It's a very sick economy. And it's only getting worse. Look at this. How do consumer prices compare in the Biden era with the Trump era 4 years ago? Prices are up nearly 21% across the board since August 2020. The economy is the top issue for voters. I believe it still is. The presidential... What am I doing here? Americans have struggled with the impact of inflation on their household budgets in recent years. Inflation surged to a 40-year high, to 9.1% in June 2022 due to the impact of supply chain disruptions and massive spending. Though the rate of inflation subsides to 2.5% in August, Americans' budgets are still stretched. Now, what they mean by this is this. It's affordability. So the cumulative effect of the Harris-Biden economy is basic groceries are up almost 25% in 4 years. But incomes don't keep up with that. If you're an hourly wage person or minimum wage person or whatever, you don't get 25%. It's not built in. Food and groceries have risen about 23% in the last 4 years. That's a lot. Egg prices have skyrocketed 61%. 61%. Other food categories. Dairy products up over 16%. Fruits and vegetables up 14%. Shelter, we call that homes and apartments, rents, up almost 25%. Overall energy costs have increased 43%. And with fuel oil spiking, 70%. New vehicles are up almost 20%. Prices for used cars and trucks are up 18%. Auto insurance is up 52.5%. Overall prices for gasoline have risen nearly 53% in 4 years. Healthcare up 7.4%. Prices for hospital services up almost 20%. Plane tickets up 22%. This is all in the wrong direction, America. This is what Harris and Bidenomics have brought you. Core inflation, they talked about, the inflation number looks pretty good yesterday. No, core inflation is up. What's core inflation? That's you. That's the basics. That's the necessities and things related to it. So core inflation is up. Jobs are way, way down in the private sector, especially in the manufacturing sector. The economy is headed in the wrong direction, and she wants to lift she wants to lift the Trump tax cuts, which are aimed at the middle class. 65% of his tax cuts are aimed at you. She wants to lift it and add taxes, further taxes. And she's not going to help cut regulations and taxes on the supply chain so food goes down and so forth. She's going to unleash the Department of Justice, price gouging. Okay, these companies are going out of business. Wendy's, Denny's. And what was it? 4 years ago, they weren't price gouging. All of a sudden, they're price gouging like, oh, wait, let's price gouge. It doesn't work that way. They did this. She did this. She was the tie vote in the United States Senate for the phony Inflation Reduction Act, which blew up our economy. Not a single Republican voted for it. She was the tie vote in the Senate. She did it. That's why she doesn't want to discuss it. She wants to keep attacking Trump as Hitler and his supporters as neo-Nazis. She wants to keep going to the microphone and talking about how he's unhinged, how he wants to shoot Liz Cheney in a firing squad. She is a liar. She's a psychopath. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. We're here with our friend, our sheriff. That's right, our Sheriff Mike Chapman of Loudoun County, Virginia, and I wouldn't bring Mike on unless there was something very important going on here. It seems to be ground zero for everything, Mike, Loudoun County, Virginia. You have an MS-13 gang member who was arrested and charged with murdering a couple. Can you tell us what took place there?
Back in August 28th, and I can tell you it took an enormous amount of work to locate, to identify this person as the suspect in the murder. We had a young couple, 22-year-old couple, both Hispanic, but they were both here legally, and we have an illegal resident, illegal alien that committed the crime. His name is Marlene Medrano Ortiz, all of 18 years old, shot and killed. 2 people died as a result. We haven't charged on one. We're looking at other charges to confirm on the other. But it was an amazing amount of work that our detectives and everybody put into this, from K9 to our folks.
But what exactly happened in this case here?
So what happened was this: they had this couple was walking back to their apartment over there off a Ridgetop Circle in the Sterling area. As they were walking to their apartment, they encountered this group in a parking lot behind the apartment complex. Got into a little bit of an argument there, and this individual, from what we understand, pulled out a gun and shot both of them. And so we haven't charged on one. They were both transported to the hospital and died by the time they got to the hospital. So just a tragic thing. 18 years old, MS-13 member, and it followed just a month after we had that carjacking that happened at the 7-Eleven in Sterling as well, where the illegal alien there, Mr. Aguilar, tried to carjack with a car. As he was doing that, the owner of the car, Ms. Waldecker, lady in her 50s, was in Loudoun County visiting her mom at assisted living and has grandchildren of her own, went to go to the car. She gets knocked down, gets run over by him, and dies there at the scene. I mean, so we have, what you're talking about is one of the safest counties in the entire United States, and what we're seeing here is just kind of indicative of what's going on across the United States here, and certainly a result of what's going on with the border and the tens of millions of illegal migrants that are coming over that border, and we're just we hear often that every state's a border state, and this really kind of proves it. I mean, when you have a community like this, I can tell you this, that in the past 10 years, we've had almost no gang activity. We have some gang members from MS-13 and the 18th Street Gang here, mostly in the Sterling area, and we haven't had any activity. We'd had a couple murders back then about 10 years ago, and everything's been kind of quiet, and all of a sudden it started picking back up mostly with fentanyl. We started experiencing that, a rise in that a couple of years ago. In fact, did a great case with the Drug Enforcement Administration and grabbed enough fentanyl that was coming in from Mexico into California and all the way across the United States into D.C. That would kill every man, woman, and child 2 times over, at least in Loudoun County. So it's a shame, Mark, what I'm seeing here and across the country. I'm on the executive board for the National Sheriffs. I'm on with Major County Sheriffs of America, and we track all this stuff. And I tell you what is. What I'm seeing here is bad, but it's nothing compared to what they're seeing. These border sheriffs are seeing down there, and it's been horrible for the last several years. Obviously, under this administration.
I mean, it just amazes me because this isn't this isn't Mother Nature. This is a man-made disaster. It's affecting every corner of this country. It's affecting suburban counties like Loudoun County and all over the country here. I mean, these are vile, vicious gang members. That's what they know. That's what they're taught. And we open our doors to them. We don't even know who these people are, really, do we, Sheriff Chapman?
No, I tell you what, you're right. They don't. And in fact, we had a hard time identifying the one that was involved in the carjacking that ended up. And fortunately we got him charged with first-degree murder in that case. So, but it's just terrible. And I can tell you this, when under the last administration under President Trump, sheriffs nationwide were respected, and we get called down to the White House. I was down there several times, and we would have meetings with some of his personnel, sometimes directly with the president himself. And, I was with him when he signed his opioid bill. I was in a rose garden when he did his Police Reform Act. I sat around roundtable on MS-13 discussions with him, and he seemed to really, really care about law enforcement, about public safety, about keeping us safe. And I can tell you in the past 4 years of what we've seen since this administration has been in, I don't know personally of any sheriff that's been invited to talk to anybody down there. They just don't seem to care what's going on with law enforcement and seem to be working against us rather than working with us. And so Tuesday is going to be a big day, and let's hope it certainly goes in the right direction.
Amen to that. And you have another situation there, right? You have an anti-Semitic graffiti situation that you've resolved?
Yeah, we did, and we're still, we have a warrant for the individual that did this. We're not going to put his name out just yet because we're working through some contacts to try to get a hold of them. But yeah, back in May, there were 4 Starbucks that were hit, and they had all kinds of graffiti, mostly in the Ashburn area there. They had everything from victory to Hamas to free Gaza, death to America. It's just unconscionable, the stuff that was going on all over the place, wrong side of history, from the river to the sea. And again, it took us an enormous amount of work, like it did with this homicide. When you talk about all the gumshoe work and knocking on doors and using all our assets, whether it's investigations, canines, you name it, everything that we had. And in this particular case, we worked real hard. We're able to identify this individual and have him charged now with two of the four Starbucks that were hit for both destruction of property and for wearing a mask to conceal his identity in the commission of a crime. So it's felony charge. Both are felony charges. So we're happy. It took us a while to do this, but I can tell you what, we're just not going to put up with that garbage here.
Let me just say this: you're a fantastic sheriff, Mike Chapman, Loudoun County. I've gotten to know him well. He's just terrific. And thank you for what you're doing, Sheriff. We really appreciate it. And don't ignore what he said. You got to vote, folks. You got to vote. Even if it's in your own self-defense, you need to vote. I'll be right back. The big wireless carriers want to limit you to 2 choices when it comes to data: unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So, folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. The Daily Signal, a few months back, we've talked about the economy. Economic freedom in the United States falls to the lowest level in 30 years in a 2024 global index. Writes Anthony Kim some months back. The foundations of economic freedom have been declining around the world for 3 consecutive years, according to a 2024 index of economic freedom. And what they do is they look at 184 countries and the entrepreneurial environment. Despite the disappointing downward trend of global economic freedom, the overall findings of 2024 index released by the Heritage Foundation are unmistakable. Preserving and further enhancing the institution of economic freedom is the key to economic empowerment and societal flourishing. Gee, I wonder if Kamala Harris will do that. In its 30th anniversary edition, the 2024 index provides a unique opportunity to step back and contemplate the importance of what's taking place here. The index of economic freedom is thoroughly documented. Here's 5 notable takeaways for 2024. You ready? The 2024 index reveals a world economy that, taken as a whole, is mostly unfree. And regrettably, the global average score for economic freedom has fallen further from the previous year, 59.3, and it's now the lowest it has been since 2001, 58.6. Singapore has maintained its status of the world's freest economy, demonstrating a high-level economic resilience. Switzerland is the world's 2nd freest economy, followed by Ireland. Along with these 3 countries, Taiwan continues to be a free economy with an economic freedom rating of 80, which is why Communist China is going to try and take it over. As the world's 4th freest economy, Taiwan is an exemplary free market democracy. But especially troublesome is the continuing decline of the Economic Freedom Index in the United States, whose score plummeted to 70.1, its lowest ever in the 30-year history of the index in keeping records. The U.S. is now the world's 25th freest economy, with the Biden-Harris administration's misguided policies corroding America's economic freedom. The cost, size, intrusiveness of big government have resulted in mounting deficits and debt burdens, undermining the overall fiscal health and long-term competitiveness of the U.S. economy. What do you think, folks? Economic freedom correlates significantly with overall well-being, which includes such factors as health, education, the environment, innovation, and democratic governance. And on these critical public policy implications, it should be kept in mind that economic freedom, not the environmental, social, and governance agenda, makes America and the world cleaner, safer, and better governed. The true path to ensuring ESG improvements lies in focusing on policies that enhance economic freedom. Kevin Roberts, the great president of Hillsdale College, of the Heritage Foundation, great guy, says we're at a crossroads. We're at a crossroads. We must choose between self-governance, human dignity, and ordered liberty, or a society run by the managerial elite with no room for dissent or responsibility. One path leads to prosperity, the other leads to ruin. And more than ever, economic freedom, which calls for committed adherence to the pillars of the rule of law, limited government, regulatory efficiency, and market openness, is critical to generating opportunities for people to work, produce, save, prosper, while enhancing the nation's overall capacity for greater economic development, prosperity, and security. And the months ahead present necessities and unique opportunities for America and other willing countries to restore economic freedom. Well, ladies and gentlemen, freedom, period, economic and free will, and your God-given natural rights, they're all on the ballot. They're all on the ballot, and you will make the decision whether you choose liberty or tyranny. You will make the decision whether you hate Donald Trump more than you love your country. A lot of people will make that decision. Kamala Harris is hoping that shiny objects will get her elected. The lies about Donald Trump, using the military, rounding up people, putting them in prison, killing people, on and on a sick beyond belief. On the tarmac in Wisconsin today, as she waddles up to the microphone, trying to pin on Donald Trump that he wanted a firing squad against Liz Cheney. And of course, Liz Cheney, nobody plays a drama queen better than Liz Cheney, that's for sure. And he said none of those things. And he would never say any of those things, but it doesn't matter. They don't care. They have a whole campaign of lies. That's what they're all about. That's what they believe in. That's what they're hoping will get them elected. You ain't seen nothing on so-called climate change, which is economic degrowth. You ain't seen nothing on the border. If they win the presidency in both houses of Congress, this is a joke what you see. It's going to be a disaster. The Supreme Court, those justices can sit there. Kavanaugh, Barrett, and Roberts. I know. The other three are great. That's right. And I'm not talking about the leftists. They are going to be ruling. They're going to take a pass on things like the U.S. Supreme Court. Like the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. They'll be destroying their own existence. That's how stupid some of these justices are. Their own existence. I mean, the idea that in Pennsylvania people might vote twice, the Supreme Court of the state interferes with the legal processes of the state. Of course they could have ruled on this. Why, Mark? That would have been the court interfering? No. Because the state legislature determines the state law. That's what it says in the Constitution. It doesn't say the state. It says the state legislature. And the state legislature did determine the law. And the state Supreme Court changed the law. Why? Because 7 justices, they're all elected, 5 of them are Democrats, and 5 of them are Philadelphia-centric. They will do everything they can and everything possible. Everything they can and everything possible to help the city of Philadelphia influence the whole state. So this is a significant loss. And let me just reiterate again what we're talking about here factually, in a very concise way. In the state of Pennsylvania, if you file an absentee ballot or mail-in vote, that sort of thing, you got to follow the rules. And some of these people in the mail-in ballots didn't follow the rules. They didn't put it in the proper envelope. I put mine in a proper envelope voting for Florida. How hard can it be? They send you the envelope. It's like paint by colors, paint by number. They tell you what to do. And so some of these people decided to put it in a plain envelope or what have you. And, of course, the reason you have a special envelope, which you sign on the outside and date and so forth, is to ensure the integrity of that vote. Well, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania said, no, they can vote provisionally, too, even if the state finds that they didn't vote technically properly in the mail-in vote. Now, what's the problem with that, America? The problem is that you can have somebody whose vote counts twice, because the provisional ballot will be counted, and the other ballot in the non-official envelope could be counted. And that's what the Pennsylvania lawsuit was about. Wait a minute. You could have one person counted twice here. Plus, you're changing the law of the state of Pennsylvania. So the Supreme Court of the United States said, that's okay. They can do that. It's okay. Pennsylvania may be the keystone state to this election, but its Supreme Court is as corrupt as hell, ideologically corrupt. And it was ideologically corrupt in 2020 as well. And that's why all these reporters say, you're going to accept the results, accept the results. Does it sound like the left is accepting results? They're not going to accept the results of the election. They're plotting to destroy a Trump presidency, should he win. They're plotting to impeach him using the unconstitutional, not so special counsel's filing with the support of an Obama radical leftist judge by the name of Tanya Chutkan. Does that sound like they're going to accept the results? Does it? And I want to warn some people who aren't voting or haven't voted or aren't going to help other people to vote. I want to warn you about something. Should Donald Trump lose, they're going to put him in federal prison. Is that what you want for your country? That'll change this country forever, and for the worst. And for the worst. For all their talk about he's unhinged, he's Hitler, he's a fascist, he's going to round people up, he's going to lock them up. That is exactly what they're doing to pro-lifers. That's exactly what they're doing to peaceful protesters on January 6th. Forget about the violent ones, the peaceful ones. That's exactly what they're going to do. And the court system gets more and more corrupt. More and more corrupt. As they pack the courts with radicals like Judge Chutkan and Judge Pond on the appellate court in Washington, D.C. They've loaded them up. You know, that appellate court in Washington, D.C. got extra seats when Harry Reid was the majority leader and Obama was president. They decided this is the second most powerful court in the country, which it is, given the nature of the cases that come before it. So they increased the number of judges, the seats. They weren't necessary, given the caseload, and they appointed these radicals. That's exactly what they want to do to the Supreme Court, and they'll do it. This isn't some election over white paper differences, little policy differences. This is an election over whether you love America or you don't. It's that simple. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. Kamala Harris, did you know she grew up as a child of the civil rights movement? Oh, yeah? She grew up as a child of the civil rights. This is a new one. She grew up as a child of the middle class. Both of her parents were professors. Her father, of course, was a Marxist. But both of her parents were professors. That's not a middle-class family. That's an elitist family. She spent a chunk of her childhood in Canada. But, of course, the media don't want you to know anything about this, about her record as a DA, her record as an attorney general, her record as the senator. And, of course, we're told she had no job as vice president, and that's why she didn't do anything. Now, we've had strong vice presidents who've done a lot, but she didn't do anything, we're told, unless she did everything. Here's Kamala Harris at a rally in Wisconsin yesterday, lying yet again. Cut 18, go.
That's what this is about. And I have always believed in our nation's promise because I have lived it. I grew up as a child of the civil rights movement. My parents
hold on. No, she didn't. She had nothing to do with the civil rights movement. She has as much to do with the civil rights movement as Joe Biden. All of a sudden, this pops up this week. A child of the civil rights movement. Does she have no decency whatsoever? Are there no limits to her pathology? Is there nobody who taps her on the shoulder and says, Kamala, will you stop lying? She lies about everything, big and small. McDonald's, she's a liar. People are like, well, how do you know? What do you mean, how do I know? If I worked at McDonald's, I could prove it. Somehow, some way, somewhere. She proves nothing. It's so outrageous. Middle class. No, she wasn't part of a middle class. She had two professors. That's not the middle class. She wants you to think, well, she grew up with electricians and plumbers. No, she didn't. She grew up with a father who taught her how to be a Marxist. So all this middle-class crap from her is bullcrap. All this stuff, she grew up as a child of the civil rights. Well, go ahead. Finish that, Mr. Producer.
Marches when I was in a stroller.
She took her to marches when she was in a stroller. A liar. When did this happen? Which march? You have any pictures? You have anything? All of a sudden, this pops up while she's campaigning in Wisconsin. Yesterday. This woman's a psycho. She shouldn't be anywhere near the nuclear button. Absolute psycho. In my humble opinion, which ain't so humble, by the way, but it's correct. It's the truth. And the truth shall set you free. I don't know where Jesse Jackson is these days. Maybe he's, I don't know. LeBron James, very, very impressed with Kamala Harris. He's endorsed her. Did you know that, Mr. Producer? Very, very impressed with Kamala Harris. So he's endorsed her, and he took a lot of crap, and he should have, for what he posted on his site. And I want to remind you about LeBron James, the great LeBron James, civil rights leader. Number one, he hasn't done crap for the black community. Maybe he's given a little money here and there. The guy's a billionaire. Can do a little bit more. But apart from that, he was down for the struggle where Black Lives Matter, which is a corrupt enterprise, where the leaders became filthy rich. Yeah. Did he ever apologize for that? Not once. He throws in with all these movements. Just throws in. It must be easy. He's got mansions. He lives nowhere near the action in the streets. Nowhere. I'm sick and tired of guys like this. I really am. So he's backing Kamala Harris. Wow, great for him. How many votes is that going to persuade? Maybe his son. What did his son hit? One basket the other day, Mr. Producer? Why is he even in the pros? I don't even know. But what do I know? I'll be right back.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Donald Trump, returning to the first page of our organized clips, Mr. Producer, he's also saying, what is it with this boys and girls sports and men and girls sports stuff? Do you have that there, Christian? All right, let's go. Let's run it. Go. Okay, never mind. You don't have it, do you? It's on the front page, Christian. Cut to, is it, Christian? All right, never mind. Never mind. All right, I'll move on. Arizona Attorney General's office probing Trump's violent comments about Liz Cheney. So, see how this works? See how this works, folks? So, Trump didn't say anything offensive. But Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays, that her office is investigating whether former President Donald Trump's violent remarks, and this is how it's reported by NBC News, that his remarks were violent. Now, they can say Hitler and all the rest, but his remarks, this is why you hate the media. Because you should. If you happen to come across a Christian, can you at least give me a heads up at some point? Okay. Let's go to cut 3. Go.
And I'll say, why do they want to have men, and they're so emphatic about it, men playing in women's sports? You see what's happening in volleyball, what's happening in swimming, what's happening in weightlifting. How about weightlifting, where records that stood for 18 years, are being broken like by hundreds of pounds? The whole thing is crazy. Then you say, why do they want to have transition? I call them transition operations by the thousands. If you just say, well, I'm thinking about it, they throw you into an operating table. And you say, why do they want to have that? Who wants that? Who wants to have open borders?
All right, let's stop here. Folks, the insanity that's being imposed on us and enshrined into our law is really so totally unacceptable. Again, you mothers out there, I'm quite serious about this. You mothers in the suburbs, you're all supposed to vote for Kamala Harris over abortion. She's got you thinking if Donald Trump's elected, he's going to outlaw abortion. I've said I'll bet $10 million that that's not the case. No takers, of course. It's ridiculous. But that's not even the point. The point is she's a radical on this issue. To believe in so-called abortion in a birth canal, that's not abortion. That's murder. Well, Kamala Harris believes in that. She also believes there should be no exceptions for conscience, like people of faith or others who just say, I can't do this. They have to be forced to do it with a government gun effectively to their heads. You think that's okay? What happened to the free exercise of religion? It's not okay. But they've destroyed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. There's an amendment to protect women's sports, to promote women's sports. And so you have these guys now in women's sports, and they didn't amend the law. It's an executive order. An executive order. So you mothers out there who take your kids to soccer practice or other kinds of practice, baseball, basketball, and your kid gets decent at it, they're not going to go into the pros or anything like that. Maybe some will, but unlikely. But maybe they can get a scholarship to a college or something like that. Or maybe they're just having a good time. Do you think it's okay for a guy to participate in those sports with the girls? Do you think that's okay? Is that what was meant by the Civil Rights Act? You think it's okay that when it's all said and done, in high schools, as an example, they go back to the locker room and change and show their genitalia to the girls who are around them? He doesn't have to be an exhibitionist. It's just noticeable. Is that okay with everybody? How about the showers? Oh, yes. They shower together. Is that okay with everybody? This is why women are standing up. Girls are standing up in colleges and universities and the volleyball leagues. No, we're not doing this. We're not going to do this. Plus, we're going to get hurt. Well, Kamala Harris supports this perversion. She supports it. Does that sound like something good? Like she's for girls and women? Of course not. And she gets up there angry, railing against Trump and abortion. She's railing against nothing. Nothing. She's railing against a lie. He's against democracy. He's running for office, isn't he? Just like her. In the process that we have. But look at her. Screaming about things that aren't going to happen. That he tried to cut Medicare and Social Security. No, he didn't. He's the one trying to protect them and trying to give seniors a no-tax bill when it comes to their Social Security. Oh, he wants to cut taxes for billionaires. Why, are waiters billionaires? Are casino workers billionaires? He's the one that said no tax on tips. Then hey, I have an idea, no tax on tips. She's an empty vessel. But she's plotting. First, they tried keeping her secret for 3 months. Then they bring her out. She doesn't talk about anything substance, but she's out there, man. She's throwing dirt balls, mud balls. She's throwing everything she can at Trump. Again, trying to dehumanize him after 2 assassination attempts. Do you really want somebody who is so vapid, who's sophomoric, who's got nothing substantive to offer, who will do enormous damage with their radical leftist ideology, left of Bernie Sanders? Is this what you want? You want the destruction of girls' sports? You want the border wide open and more sex slavery and fentanyl? She did that. And I don't want to hear, oh, well, she was vice president. She has no authority. Of course she does. She can speak out. And then she's covering up for Joe Biden all these years, who has dementia, lying right to the end, right through the debate, how sharp he is. Now, maybe that's okay by LeBron James. Maybe that's okay to have a liar in the White House. Maybe that's okay to have somebody who covered up for Joe Biden all these years. Maybe that's okay with him. Maybe the sex slavery on the border. Maybe that's okay with him. 325,000 unaccompanied migrants, missing kids. That might be okay for him. I'd be happy to debate him. Never happened. And what has she done for the black community? Not a damn thing. Like LeBron James, barely anything. School choice. She opposes it. She opposes it, the greatest civil rights issue of our time. But don't worry. When she was a baby, we now learned, she was in a carriage and her parents went to civil rights events. The hell is she talking about? Nothing. She's full of it. And she's fooling so many people in this country. People have to decide, do you really hate Trump so much that you won't vote for your country? She supported defunding the cops. 100%. She contributed to a fund that would let the most violent criminals out of prison from Minneapolis and other places in 2020. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. She wants to give illegal immigrants Medicare. That will destroy Medicare, which is already teetering. Now she says she won't. She will. She absolutely will. She said she wants illegal immigrants to get on a pathway to citizenship. That's amnesty. Amnesty for 21 million people who can then bring their family members in? Are we nuts? We can't handle that. You can't have open borders and a massive welfare state at the same time. And who does that hurt the most? Poor minorities in our inner cities. Poor whites in Appalachia. Poor people. That's who it hurts the most. This is a power grab. The worst kind of power grab in American history because it will destroy our society. I'm sick and tired of hosts on TV and radio acting like we've got this win in the back pocket. They're doing nothing to help us win this election. Nothing. They're getting in advance of an election. That's a loser. That's a loser. Well, Mark, 2 weeks later, we won. You were wrong. I didn't say we wouldn't win. I said you have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right speech. You have to have the right inspiration to win. The big game is Tuesday. It's Tuesday. You don't go before a football game, a hockey game, a basketball game, a baseball game, a military battle and say, hey, you know what? We're going to win this thing. What are you talking about? You got to put in the hours. You got to put in the work. That's us. Team America. Team Liberty. Team Constitution. You and me. Now, what are you doing for the team this weekend? Whining is not an answer. Talking is not an answer. What are you going to do for the team this weekend? I got family all over the damn country getting out the vote. But that's the question. That's the question. What are each of you going to do? You have to live with yourselves. If we lose this country, honest to God, I'm trying to help. You have to live with yourselves. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I want to give you an example of an organization like Mediaite that's founded by Dan Abrams, how sleazy these guys are. You got a guy, Michael Luciano, who's a radical leftist. Headline, Trump boasts he has beautiful white skin right after slamming Kamala Harris. What kind of a stupid story is this? You have another one. Who cares? Trump rally-goer interrupts former president's rant about Biden. They're aggregators. They have no substance whatsoever. Then they have the Biden canceling campaign calls. Okay, great. Final Marist CNN polls show Kamala Harris squeaking out Electoral College win. Nate Silver and others tip race to Trump. CNN's David Callahan sounds the alarm for Kamala Harris in North Carolina with black voters. Quote, I ran the entire quote. Jake Tapper spars with GOP senator who claims CNN pushed hoax about Trump remark. CNN pushing it? No doubt. Elon Musk's mom does cringeworthy Kamala Harris impression on Fox. Early voting data shows a warning sign for Trump among key GOP voting bloc, reports Politico. They're talking about Pennsylvania seniors. Trump says if he wins, anti-vaxxer RFK Jr. is going to have a big role in health care, writes Philip Nito, another nitwit. Just see how it's so hugely and radically partisan. James Carville rages against media over Trump's Liz Cheney comment. These people are so effing stupid. I have no idea CNN data guru Harry Etten surrenders to election fatigue, concludes race is too close to call. Fair enough. Donald Trump's softens attack on Warhawk Liz Cheney doesn't repeat 9-barrel shooting at her jab, writes Isaac Shore. What a schmuck, Isaac Shore. Everybody knows what he meant, but they have to pretend otherwise. Disqualifying. Kamala Harris blasts Trump for increased violent rhetoric towards Liz Cheney. Simulating lynching. Parade float of Kamala Harris chained to Trump truck sparks outrage, writes Tommy Christopher, another a-hole. Tom Walsh rips Trump over recent comments. Women are going to vote whether he likes it or not. We know the exact context of all that. So this is this site. It's a grotesque site. It's what it is. It's Media Matters, effectively, but run by Dan Abrams. Now, Dan Abrams has his own cable show. He owns various cable shows, Court TV and a few of these others. He's the Jerry Springer of cable TV. He's got multiple personalities, and he pretends to be a newsman. But he runs this site, and it's run by this guy, Colby. Forget his first name. Who's accomplished not a damn thing. I think he was like a producer or something on cable or something. Just another puke. So it's another disgusting site that's hate Trump all the time. I'm looking here. Any criticism at all for Kamala Harris? Any? None. Zero. Not a thing. Nothing. No fact-checking. Nothing. Because that's the way it works. These are the progeny of the corporate media. That's what they are. They're the entrails, better yet, of the corporate media. Basically, that's what they are. Regurgitating the same crap over and over and over again. Taking clips from cable shows and TV shows. Posting them and giving them their own twist and their own headline. Who wants to do that for a living? Apparently these reprobates do. And they're not the only ones, but they're one of them. So when you watch Dan Abrams and you think, well, this guy's pretty kosher, he's down the middle, this is his operation. There's nothing kosher, there's nothing down the middle with him. Nothing. And one of the things I'm concerned about with the so-called news coverage of the last 3 or 4 months is the chasing of gossip, is the chasing of campaigns throwing out these shiny objects, is the lack of substance in real reporting and so much of the media about the real significant differences between these candidates on the issues. You just don't see it. Instead, here we are chasing shiny objects right to the end because that's what the media like. And then the polling. Effectively, the polling hasn't changed for 3 months. And so You've got organizations saying it's too close to call. It's a 1-point difference, maybe leaning toward Kamala. Maybe it's a 1-point difference for Trump. You have learned absolutely zero. Nothing. With these endless polling and pollster stuff. I haven't had a single pollster on. It's not that I don't like them. I'm sure they're great people. But who cares? What's the point? As I said, I'm mission-oriented. Going on and on about a 1-point, 2-point difference in this county, in this state, and so forth, it doesn't interest me. On election night, we'll find out county by county, state by state, and then after election night, we'll find out some of these states too. But in the meantime, look at all the hot air that has been spewed to tell you absolutely nothing. Instead of really drilling down on Kamala Harris's background and her positions and her husband and how he abused horribly a woman who's come forward, hasn't given her name, but she's a lawyer. She's a professional out of New York. They want nothing to do with her. They don't want to hear anything about her. Nothing. Okay. There's this flea that keeps flying around here, Mr. Producer. Do you hear me banging the table every now and then? Damn thing. Must be a liberal. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin, making conservatism great again. Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
Let's take a few calls, America. Dominique in New York, the great WABC. How are you?
Good. How are you? It's an honor to speak with you.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
So I'm calling to redirect the conversation a little bit more towards the local elections, specifically where I'm at in District 40, Putnam County. We have a New York State Senate race. Gina Arena.
Hold on. Do you want me to go through 10,000 state races across the country?
I'm just bringing this just because the guy the incumbent that she's running.
All right, listen, folks. Appreciate your call. I can't let people slip in who are working for a local race. I have no problem with that. Do I want you to vote for the local races? Of course. Do we have time on a massive national show to go through a state Senate race in New York? No, we really don't. We barely have time to go through House races here, and I've done more than anybody else in this business. So if her point is, look, you got to vote down ballot too. Of course you do. This is a straight Republican ticket vote right now. I've never said that to you in my life. In broadcasting here, I've never said it before, but that's what it is. That's what it is, because even the most mealy-mouthed rhino Republican right now is not one of these Marxist Islamists. That's the point. That's the point. This is a different circumstance right now, a completely different circumstance than, say, 20 years ago or 15 or 10 years ago. But no, I'm not going to focus on some local state Senate race in New York. No. In that district, go ahead and make sure you vote for your state rep and your state senator and all the rest. That's a good idea. Up and down the ballot. But if we don't win the presidency, take the Senate and hold the House, then up and down the ballot aren't going to matter that much. It's not going to matter that much. Every election will be important thereafter, but I'll have diminishing returns. What do I mean by that? This is very important. So let me explain it. Once liberty is lost, it's almost impossible to get it back. Once the system is changed, other than a wrenching, horrific confrontation, it's changed for good. Once the Supreme Court is no longer independent and packed, and at least 3 knucklehead Republicans don't seem to get it on that court, it's changed forever. Once you have chain migration, with 20 million people getting amnesty, that's it. There is no more American citizenship. It's over. I'm telling you now, there'll be future elections, but they won't matter as much, if at all. That's how important this is. It's not a joke. And so, no, we don't need to refocus on some state Senate race in New York. I'm not opposed to the locals there focusing on some state Senate race in New York or Iowa or wherever. But that's certainly not my focus. Yes, you vote up and down the chain, but my focus is we need to take this federal government back. Federalism will be lost too. The states will have almost no say. That's how important this election is. That's how important it is. So over the weekend, when you're thinking about it, you're watching football, you're having a beer, you're going shopping, you're with family, this is all good. Maybe there's some Little League sports out there you're participating in. You better do something more than that. You won't hear this from other people. You won't hear it. And if we win, it's because so many of you did do something more. And you'll be proud of yourselves, and I'll be proud of you too. There's a lot more that can be done. My family's doing it. Door to door. Different communities. Some communities they don't even know. Spanish-speaking communities, English-speaking too, of course. On Election Day. 5 different locations. I'm not kidding. I don't want to hear anymore from people to say, what can I do? What can I do? You know what you can do. The question is whether or not you're motivated enough to do it. The fact that you voted early is a great thing. But it's not enough. You voted early, now what? Now what are you going to do? It's simply not enough. Let's go to Mark, Newport. XM satellite, it says here Newport, Oregon. I'm not familiar with it. I know of a Newport, California. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Mark, we're on the Central Oregon coast where Free Willy was rehabilitated when they had Keiko the whale.
Very good.
In Oregon State Beavers. Hey, Mark, I had the honor of meeting you at the Reagan Library last year, signing your book.
Thank you.
Escorted Edwin Meese at law school as an old whistleblower in the Federal Aviation Administration.
Wow.
And this is like another time traveler for me because I am a Polish Jew who joined the Marine Corps because Anwar Sadat was assassinated for making peace with the Jews. And I went, what the hell? Well, I became a deputy sheriff after that, and I worked for the feds. I was in the FAA. I was a whistleblower during the Clinton regime. And I brought up to you about who gets to determine who the domestic enemies are. I brought it up to Sean Hannity. In fact, in 2002, he was in Spokane talking. And now the domestic enemies, I brought it up on your show. You had me at, a little halfway through your Blaze TV thing. That was really cool, too, Mark. And if you can ever get those young ladies at the end of that thing,
we're all over the map. Go ahead. Before we run out of time.
Yeah, sorry, Mark.
It's all right.
Yeah, and no, I'm sorry. That was me totally getting scrambled.
It's okay. So what did I say about the domestic enemies? What did I say? Do you remember?
Well, we were talking about the court system taking over, and you were talking about post-constitutional government, and you agreed with me on that. And, but who gets to determine? Well, now the courts are there. You're the person I wanted to ask. Who makes
Well, I'm going to answer it. We determine it. We have a limited influence on this. And this election is where we get to determine it. That is, whether the Supreme Court stays independent. We get to determine whether our borders are secure. We have a man running for president who says, I'm going to secure the damn borders and I'm going to deport these criminals and so forth. He's made it abundantly clear. We're going to get to decide what kind of society we want to live in. Energy independence, which is key to prosperity and growth in our economy. We're going to get to decide if we get to make the decisions about what we drive, what kind of ceiling fans we have, what kind of lawnmowers we have, washing machines, dishwashers, dryers, and everything else. This election is about liberty, small and large. It's about whether the system of our government, the structure of our government is going to survive, because they want to attack it. They want to destroy it. They want a centralized government where power doesn't check power, where they have ultimate power. And so most elections are not as important as this election, but this one is. This one is. It is the ruling class that wants all this power, wants all your money, wants control over your lives, versus we the people. And this nation was founded for we the people. Whether it was the Revolutionary War, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, it was about we the people. Your Constitution is set up in a way to protect us from what we're facing right now. an all-powerful political party, these billionaire oligarchs spending all this money, an out-of-control Department of Justice, borders wide open, anybody wandering through. The Constitution is being breached right now. We have a man running for president who was almost assassinated twice, who they're calling Hitler. He's the opposite of Hitler. He's the anti-Hitler. He's got more in common with the founders of this nation, the framers of our Constitution, the men who stood at the Constitutional Convention, than any one of these Democrats, than any one of them. So, my brother, that's my answer to you. And maybe one of these days I'll be back out at the Reagan Library. I love the Reagan Library. You know, as a Reaganite, 76 and 80, when nobody cared in Pennsylvania. Served as administration for 8 years, served for the greatest attorney general, Ed Meese, as his chief of staff. I know what I'm saying. I know what I see. And for those out there who say Reagan would never support Trump, let me tell you something. Reagan would support Trump. He might disagree with the way he says things and so forth and so on, but substantively, he'd be a Trump guy. There's no way, no way in hell he would ever back a Kamala Harris. Reagan was a man of California. He was quite familiar with the Kamala Harris types, with the radical leftist types. He would be disgusted about what they did to California, let alone what they want to do to the nation. He despised Joe Biden. He would despise Chuck Schumer. That's the man I worked for. That's the man I campaigned for. It's the man I knew. Thank you for your call, brother. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, when I was in college and law school, growing up outside of Philadelphia in a township called Cheltenham, in a community called Elkins Park, in a county called Montgomery County, it was Republican. Now it's 2/3 Democrat. The suburbs have gone to hell, pretty much. But the weekend before the election, even without support from the local Republican Party, I would go door to door. I would canvass on Saturday and Sunday. I didn't need a list. I didn't need names. I didn't need a party to tell me that I need to canvass this neighborhood or that neighborhood. You just do it. It's either in your system or it's not, I suppose. And I did it year after year after year. And then on that Tuesday election, I don't know what time they open now, but those precincts would open at 6 in the morning and they would close at 8 at night. And I would stand there handing out Republican ballots, and in some cases for individual candidates, not ballots, from 6 in the morning till 8 at night, without a break, without lunch, without anything. I started to do that when I was 13 years old. I did it right up to the age of 23 or 24. I was involved in the 1976 Reagan outsider challenge of Gerald Ford in the Republican primary. Then came 1980. Same thing. Whether it was raining, whether it was cold, whether it was unusually warm, it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter to me. Reagan once said, we have a rendezvous with destiny. This is that weekend. My family will be out working. This is the weekend. This is the battle before the battle. There are things you can do, and you know I'm right. You can do them on your own. It doesn't matter. Maybe you can't do that, but maybe you can make calls on your cell phone. There's a lot you can do. There's modern technology. You know a lot of people. You have them bookmarked. You have a lot of friends and colleagues, whatever your walk of life is. Family members who you know need to vote, who will vote the right way. This is on us, you and me. This is our country. This is what the colonists expected of us. This is what the Constitution for now allows you to do. This is the weekend. There are no other weekends before the election. This is it. Right now. we go to America every Friday in honor of you. Here we go. that song, America. That's for you. This is the weekend before the election. This is the weekend for those of us who want to help save the country. Don't forget Life, Liberty, and Levin, Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Ron DeSantis, Leo Terrell, Michael Watley, and me. And Sunday, it's all me. You're not going to want to miss it. If you can't watch live, go ahead and tape it in advance just in case. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine and Israel. We have your back. All of you who are going to work this weekend and do something extra, I want to salute you too. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi and Smokey. Good night, Zelda and Gigi and Indy and Patton. Good night, Rory and Marty and Barney. We miss you. Good night, Dad and Mom and Leo and Joe and Bernard and so many others. We're doing everything we can, Pops. Everything. I'll see you on Fox tomorrow.